Our first speaker of this technical session is Professor Dr. Adarsh Kumar Gupta. Now, Professor Dr. Adarsh Kumar Gupta, an ex-student of Medical College, Kolkata, is one of the most qualified person in forensics medicine of recent times. He had 39 long years of association with this discipline as a teacher and expert of good repute to the MBBS and MD students in forensic medicines, magistrates and judges of criminal and civil courts of India, and to the high officials of police in CID West Bengal and CBI. He obtained his MBBS degree from University of Calcutta in 1967, MD degree.
It wrong.
Sorry.
This is someone else. This is not mine. This is not mine. Probably you have mixed it. I am Professor Adarsh Kumar.
Yes,
Right? What you are referring is probably Professor Ajay Kumar. You have somewhere you have missed it. Let's forget it. You just invite me and we'll discuss.
I'm extremely sorry, sir. I'm really sorry for this inconvenience. Now I request Dr. Adarsh Kumar Gupta, sir, to extend his talk on the collaboration of between forensic medicine and forensic science. Thank you.
May I have the laser here, please? And this is not, the display is not here. Respected Chair, honorable dignitaries, invited speakers from all over India sitting on the first row, dear delegates and dear students, a very good afternoon to you all. No. ऐसा कट क्यों रहा है ये? थोड़ा सेटिंग ठीक नहीं है. Okay. Sorry, sir. So very good afternoon to you all. My lecture was supposed to be start at 11 a.m. and 11 a.m. means 11 a.m. IST, and in fact we are starting at 11 a.m. IST itself. Although the IST definition of IST differs, it's not Indian Standard Time. It is Indian stretchable time as usual what we see in our conferences, and that's one thing probably we have to improve upon. We have to make a timeline, and I think the organizers will keep a track of the timeline so that the whole essence of the conference and the seminar may not lose its purpose. So that's my one message to the organizers. This collaboration, and I think I will share the Professor Chattopadhyay Bhattacharya is here, whom I have got a long association of almost 23 years when I was a budding lecturer at CFSL Chandigarh, and where so many cases of, especially of the ballistic domain, firearm cases, we used to investigate together along with Dr. Badonia, unfortunately who has left, the current director of CFSL Kolkata. So from then on, 23 years, you can imagine how our collaboration and association went on and now culminated into the efforts of this particular university, where we are having this you can say the seminar, first seminar encompassing the speakers from the different branches. I'll like to extend my sincere thanks to the Honorable Vice Chancellor of this university, Professor Nirmal Kant Chakravarti, for organizing this kind of national seminar where the persons from different fields of forensics, I will say forensics, it encompasses both science and medicine, right? For taking this initiative to organize this, and special thanks to Dr. Ankit Shrivastava, the current HOD of the School of Forensic Sciences, who in a very short span of time who could organize this kind of national seminar with the central theme, forensic science in judicial enforcement, a way towards progressive justice. So time allotted to me was 1 hour, and I promise you I will not exceed more than 1 hour. Well, this is my overview of presentation. I'll be just touching upon, because whenever the word forensic is used, so many times the general people as well as even the persons who are involved in the field, even the judges and other persons also confuse what is forensic science and what is forensic medicine. They are not able to distinguish between these two domains which are otherwise entirely different, but yes, they are interdisciplinary, and when we talk about the criminal investigation system, they work in tandem or together for a better, you can say, investigation system. So I'll be touching upon few of the aspect of this, just to clarify what are all these domain and where the collaboration between forensic medicine and forensic science can be there in due course of time. Of course, we are following that to improve the ultimately the criminal investigation system, or for that matter, criminal justice delivery system. So I'll be touching upon few of the aspects during my presentation, not in a particular order, all these various branches of forensic medicine, and of course, a few of the things where in this 1 hour time I could touch upon. So when we talk about the criminal investigation system, you will agree that there are basically 4 pillars of the criminal investigation system. Dr. Ankit has mentioned about 3 pillars, and again the 4th pillar of forensic medicine was missing when he was referring to the dignitaries sitting on the dais. So of course, at the helm of affairs, the person which is the, you can say, the whole investigation system rotates upon the police person, of course. The forensic scientist is the other. The third one is a very important role when we talk about the crime against the human body. It is the doctor, or for that matter, ideally it should be a forensic medicine expert, right? And 4th one, of course, is the public prosecutor who presents in the court of law. And if we talk about the justice delivery system, then the judge is added upon that, and he is the, you can say, the person who is responsible for the justice delivery based upon the whatever findings which have been put forward by all these branches of, you can say, the investigation system. Whatever police has put forth before the court, whatever forensic scientist has put before the honorable court, whatever doctor has put before, and how the public prosecutor has presented before the honorable court about all these, and after thorough analysis of that, the judge, honorable judge, pronounce whatever verdict based upon all those. So just to add that forensic medicine also is one of the important pillars. If one pillar is missing from any criminal investigation system or is weak, the ultimate, you can say, the building of that, it will not be that much strong which are supposed to be. So that's my another message, that please, whenever we are talking about forensic, please include forensic science and forensic medicine, especially when you're talking about the crime against the human body. So how forensic medicine helps in imparting social justice? So we know the crime affects the whole society. It is not against a particular individual, right? And that's why any crime when occurs, the case is always state versus so and so. Nowhere the name of the victim comes. Of course, during proceedings it is there, but the case is always state versus the, or whosoever is the accused, because it is assumed that the crime is against the society and not a particular person. Of course, one person is affected, but then it is against the whole society. This word forensic, when we talk about this forensic medicine, this forensic word arose from the forensis, that is of courts of law, justice, and actually this word arose from forum. And the forum, if someone visits to the Italy, goes to the Rome, still they have got the just opposite the one of that you can say the 7 wonders of the world. So there is still it is persisting. What is forum? In ancient times, what used to happen, whatever the persons sitting in a particular village or locality, they used to sort out their differences on a particular village place, what we called as in northern India, what we called as Chabutra, Nukkad, and all those chopal kind of things, if you can correlate. So there all the respected persons of that locality used to sit there, and among the discussion of all of them, they used to sort out their whatever differences are there to come, and that was the way of giving the justice, imparting the way justice during that time. Over a period of time, that from forum, that word forensic arose. So forensic, the word, the origin of forensic is there. When we talk about forensic medicine, if you see the textbooks of various textbooks of, especially the older textbooks of forensic medicine, still it names medical jurisprudence. If you see the Bible of the forensic medicine, which is referred by all the courts in India and all, it is the Modi's book of, you can say, medical jurisprudence and toxicology. That is the exact name. That is referred as a Bible when we talk about the Indian judicial system. But if you see the exact definition, medical jurisprudence is just one of the corollary of the forensic medicine. It is not entire forensic medicine. Medical jurisprudence, as the word itself suggests, jurisprudence, again you can just break this word. Juris means law, prudence means knowledge. Knowledge of law is jurisprudence. You add the word medical before that, that means the whatever knowledge of law pertaining to the medicine, something like that, right? But that is also misnomer. I'll come to that later. What is the exact difference between forensic medicine and medical jurisprudence? Toxicology goes hand in hand when we talk about the criminal investigation and forensic medicine investigation. We can say it's a sister concern of the forensic medicine. I'll come to that toxicology is that branch where when we are talking about the collaboration, I'll be just touching upon all these branches where we need collaboration between the toxicologists, that means the forensic scientists and other persons involved. So toxicology is one of the sister branches of the forensic medicine, and many more. As the science is progressing, many more branches of the forensic medicine are coming up. Forensic anthropology. My dear friend Dr. Bandyopadhyay is here. Anthropology again is a huge domain. There are branches of cultural anthropology, physical anthropology, social anthropology. One of the domain is forensic anthropology, where the applied aspects of anthropology are, you can say, considered for the purpose of administration of law, where the issues pertaining to the legal issues, whenever the issue arises. So forensic anthropology. Forensic odontology, that means the branch of the dentistry. It is one of the branch of the dentistry. Forensic dentistry is the other name. How that helps in the, you can say, investigation of crime and all. So that's again is a huge branch and a specialized branch. Now in the 21st century, we are marching towards more and more specialization. Things which used to be earlier, before you can say this century, and now so many changes are there, so many technological advancement are there, and that's why so many branches of forensics are also developing over a period of time. Forensic radiology. Now this COVID pandemic, 2 years we have just witnessed how much havoc it has created, it has affected all of us. I'll just confine to the problem in our setup. See, all these deaths, all these suspicious deaths, autopsy has to be conducted mandatorily. But you imagine the COVID situation, whether it is possible to conduct the autopsy on the COVID bodies, so many problems and all these were there. So it was revised, the guidelines were revised, and it was advocated that if the autopsy means conventional autopsy, so without opening the body, if the internal findings can be documented with the help of radiological means, suppose X-rays, CT scans, MRIs, which we were not having earlier 20, 30 years ago, there is no need to open the dead body as such. So the concept of humanitarian forensics also is developing side by side. So that has recently come up, and this COVID pandemic gave us a chance to just implement that kind of practice, at least at my institute, where we can have the liberty of the resources, financial resources, where we could set up all the support from the government, and we could set up the first autopsy unit, as you might be aware of that. The virtual autopsy or the autopsy unit has been established at AIIMS under the forensic radiology, where I am in charge of forensic radiology. Now this forensic entomology, mycology, I am afraid the visibility is not there, maybe, and some of the slides are also visible on my thing, but here they are going over. So entomology is one branch which was supposed to develop on a much better manner, but somehow it has lost track over a period of time. In the morning time, I was discussing with my dear friends, Professor Harsh and Professor Rajendra Singh Chandel, that how this zoologist and forensic entomology started in the year 2000, 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, and afterwards it just lost the steam, and we are not having good researchers in entomology. Very much helpful when we talk about the crime investigation. So these are the branches where forensic scientists and all, they can intervene, they can go into those branches because it's a totally unknown area. So much scope for the research and do a quality work in those. Mycology, study of fungus, forensic botany, all those things, study of diatoms, so many branches I can go on and on. I'm just telling about the forensic medicine branches. Let's see the forensic sciences. So, forensic sciences and forensic medicine, now I think probably you can be more focused. What is forensic science? Basically, it deals with the analytical aspects or the instrumentations part. Whenever we are talking about the crime against the human body, like the examples, viscera analysis. When we talk about the any death due to poisoning, the work starts right from the admission of the patient. So our role first as a doctor comes to save the life of the person. Then in unfortunate event of death, if the person dies, then medico-legal proceedings start. And then the autopsy is conducted, and then afterwards those viscera are removed and then handed over through the police to the forensic scientists, the toxicologists at the respective forensic science laboratories, who will give the analysis, who will conduct the analysis on that part, and then the report of that again is brought back through the police to the forensic medicine experts or the doctor who gives the final cause of death about that person. Right? So here you can understand that there is a definite role of so many stakeholders. If either of the stakeholder is lacking in their duty or the expertise, the ultimate outcome of the case is going to be affected. The ballistics, these are the branches. Ballistics, as I shared you, with Dr. Bhattacharya, Dr. Badonia, we used to be there. So many cases of all those firearm injuries where we need to reconstruction of the scene. Where is the wound of entry? Where is the wound of exit? What is the trajectory? And all those. Unless and until the forensic medicine person and the forensic science person or the ballistic person, they understand each other, they collaborate each other, the things are going to be lost somewhere. So I think we had a very good time on those period, and that's the beauty of collaboration. We could sort out so many issues pertaining to these. So ballistics is one branch where it falls under both domain. Till the time the autopsy is conducted, the bullet or the pellets, whatever the material is retrieved, that is the domain of the doctor. Afterwards, when it is submitted to the through police to the forensic scientist, then he comments upon the range of fire and so many other issues, which weapon has fired, bullet fingerprinting and all those issues. So in the context of case, both becomes important. Biological fluid analysis, all those blood, semen, saliva, everything. So it is the duty of the doctor to collect during the whatever sexual assault victim examination, or for that matter any dead bodies homicide investigation. He has to collect and send it to the serologist or the biologist. Again, the expertise is required and communication is required. We have seen so many times cases are being lost because of this miscommunication between two important branches of the, you can say, the investigation delivery system. Side by side, we have got few of the branches where there is specific domain of the forensic sciences, where there is relatively no role of forensic medicine, like documents examination. When you talk about question document examination, of course there are situations, I'll come to that later, still, but by and large, the document examination, that's a whole and sole domain of the forensic science. Cyber forensics, which has come up only in this century, that's a pure domain of the forensic science. But I can share this, there is also a little bit role of forensic medicine depending upon case to case. So in nutshell, I think now you can understand what is the role of forensic science and what is the role of forensic medicine, in which situation their role you can say starts. We need to understand first, and based upon this I will build upon my lecture further. So as I said, both are complementary to each other. When we talk about any crime pertaining to the human body, it is primarily comes to the doctor, he examines, and afterwards so many other issues comes up, right? So now in this decade or so in this century, we have got the few other branches, or you can say the super specialty kind of thing, where we discuss even more intricacies pertaining to death, that is called as thanatology, pertaining to injuries, that is called as traumatology, right? And the clinical forensic medicine. Most of the times what happens, the forensic medicine, as soon as the word forensic medicine is there, the person assumes that they only deal with the dead bodies. And many of the times I have listened to the comment that we are treated as doctors of the dead. It's not like that. Yes, primary domain of course is the death, because most of the time the criminal investigation starts after the death of a person, depending upon situation. But then there are so many other domains, like if we talk about the abortion, whole branch of clinical forensic medicine has come up, where we deal so many issues pertaining to when the person is living. So many legal changes, additions, deletions in the laws, as you see, is because of that activism, because of the intervention in that. Sexual jurisprudence, rape, POXO cases, all these cases, as I told you, right? No matter whatever the best DNA lab we have, best serologist we have, if the doctor has failed in his duty to collect these samples properly, what even a best DNA expert can do? So we have to understand, right? And we have to improve our practices either side, right? Then the medical ethics, nowadays negligence, Consumer Protection Act, after the induction of doctors profession under the Consumer Protection Act, so many cases of medical negligence are being lodged against the doctors. That is the branch of the forensic medicine which deals with all these issues, medical ethics, and indirectly I want to say the jurisprudence, one of the branches of this which deals with that, along with the other technical issues like formation of National Medical Council and all those. Toxicology, here I will specifically touch upon now. Medical toxicology, as I told you, medical or clinical toxicology, till the time doctor is performing his duty to save the life of a patient, that is the medical toxicology, right? When the person dies, it becomes the unfortunate event of death, then the doctor conducts the autopsy, right? Then it is the domain of the postmortem toxicology. After the conduction of the autopsy, the viscera is being sent to the FSL. Analytical toxicology, it's a pure domain of the, you can say, the toxicologist, the forensic scientist. And then again that report is sent back to the doctor. And now other branch of the toxicology, which is developing now, of course, much developed in the other part of the world. I have got the liberty of working with the Scotland police, as probably you missed my biodata. She has totally messed up, but it's not her fault. So I was a Commonwealth Fellow in Scotland in 2011 and afterwards in 2015. So I worked very closely with the Scotland police, and where all these things we are doing at the level of the department itself, all this interpretation part, everything, so many things, right? So I'll touch upon few of the aspects in my subsequent slides where we can improve upon our slight changes, little improvements in our practices. Forensic engineering, that's one of the, you can say, branches what is recently where the role of the physicist, role of the forensic scientist is very important. Road traffic accidents, the fall from height cases, where we need to understand all those dynamics which we applied even. I was the chairperson of the board which conducted the autopsy on the Honorable Gopinath Munde case. There were so many issues, how the injury, pattern of the injury sustained. He was traveling in the car, he was sitting on the backside. We incorporated the professor from the IIT Delhi, right, in the team through CBI when it went to CBI. So then we investigated and then we could recreate. So all these are branches of, you can say, the forensic engineering. Fall from height, I could remember one case, Natasha Singh, probably if you just search it on the Google, you can find out the lady fell from the 7th floor, and during the felling and all, afterwards the injury pattern, whatever was found, there were issues whether she was thrown, she committed suicide, all those. So the concepts of forensic engineering helps in the reconstruction of all these events. As a forensic medicine person, we are not well versed in those. So that's why a team approach is required. And when we talk about team approach, I was discussing with sir, Professor Datta sir, Dr. Datta sir, the IPS sir, and here comes the role of the, you can say, the CBI, right? CBI has got all these wings, right? Or you can say incorporate. And that's why their investigation pattern is different. I'm also on the panel of CBI. So many cases we have done, and that's why we could give better result through CBI because of the logistic support. Unfortunately, in our day-to-day system, day-to-day functioning, these things lack, and that's how we see how the system of the criminal investigation is poor in our country. Scene reconstruction, it helps so much. Probably you might have seen me on the TV 2 years before when I went there in Mumbai, very famous case, everybody knows that, right? So unless and until whatever was being shown in the media, whatever was written in the post-mortem report, we could just analyzing those aspects. But as soon as I visited that room where Sushant really committed suicide, and then we could just reconstruct with the help of my all forensic scientists, physics person, all persons were there, and then we could reconstruct what was the height of the body, what was the what was the ligature material, ligature mark, and all those things. So then, and how that pattern of the injury could be produced, the scene visit gives a lot of information, right? Scene reconstruction. So there again, it's a teamwork, right? Again, it's a teamwork, because every person is important in a team when we talk about the highest end of the criminal investigation. Suicide note analysis, I told you, yes, there are few things. Sometimes the role of the forensic medicine comes. Usually the document examination, there is no role. But when we talk about suicide note analysis, again, that falls in between both, right? Primarily, of course, the question documents, but then it helps in our standing also. Like the IAS DK Ravi case, probably you might have followed the person IAS from Karnataka, right? And then leaving aside other things, I'll just concentrate upon how this suicide note, what was written, and how his handwriting changed over a period of time, and how it was reflected in his behavior, all those things. So sometimes when we talk about the holistic investigation, it's not only pure forensic pathology or all, right? When we talk about the investigation of the case in a holistic manner, we have to take consideration of many domains, right? So all these things where we required the expertise of the others. So 20 minutes, okay. So that was the, you can say, the first basic part of the introduction. Well, when we talk about, as I told you, the death, when you're talking about the forensic medicine, the autopsy, that's the first thing, first and foremost things comes into our mind. Why and how it is done, I am not going to describe that, but not because of the paucity of time, but yes, why it is done, you must understand why the postmortem is done. The primary role of the postmortem examination is identification. Identify the dead body. Unless and until this establishment of the corpus delicti, what we say, the body of offense, if the body of offense is not recovered, the crime investigation does not usually start, right? So first you have to recover the body of crime and then identify it, who was that person. And there comes the role of the police. Primary responsibility of the identification is by the police. So police just collects the information from the relatives nearby, all those, right? But sometimes, because of the peculiar situation, police fails. It is a scrutinized bodies. Role comes of the forensic anthropologist. There is a role of forensic anthropologist when we talk about the investigation or examination of human remains or the skeletal remains. Pure domain of the forensic anthropologist. As of now, it is underdeveloped, or I should say not developed in India, right? It's only the doctors who are, you can say, with some kind of interest and that knowledge doing that work, but still we don't have that system of incorporating a trained forensic anthropologist in our investigation system, which I was having at Scotland during my second fellowship at Scotland. I went to the Center for Anatomy and Human Identification. So in second stint, I was just exposed to the forensic anthropology, right, where I could understand all these nuances and intricacies of the forensic anthropology. Huge role when we talk about identification. The fingerprints, if it is available, the role of the fingerprint experts, pure forensic science persons, right? We know a little bit about fingerprint, and when we talk about fingerprint, I think that's the contribution from India, and that too from this city of Kolkata to this whole world. The whole science of dactylography started from here in this very city. So I must congratulate this city indirectly for, you can say, giving something to the forensic world, right? So fingerprint expert, one of the important part of when we talk about investigation, not only for the human body, but there are other situations also, right? All those exhibits and all when we try to match. So many, you can say, applied aspects of fingerprint experts are there. So in the context of case, it becomes important. DNA expert, right? Nothing is there, fingerprints gone, skeletonized bodies, we have examined, right? Then afterwards comes the role of DNA, whether, just to specify, I can share my experience of handling Nithari case. Probably you might have gone through that case. The word Nithari, as soon as you type it on the Google, you will be just astonished how much how much gory crime this happened in India. 18 children were thus killed, raped and murdered, dismembered bodies thrown into dustbin over a period of 3 years, right? Just dumped. And then we went to the scene of crime. From there, we recovered from those drain 41 packets of polythene, right? Dismembered body of the children belonging to the age group from 7, 8 years to the 16, 17, 18 years. So with the knowledge of anthropology, we could just sort it out, and then afterwards, with the help of DNA expert, we could just pinpoint, yes, that these skeletal remains belongs to that particular person by whatever parents and all those are available by matching with those, right? So this becomes extremely important domain. So that's one of the aim of conducting autopsy, is to get the body identified and to just and all other issues. Cause of death is of course the primary domain of the doctor to give the cause of death. Whatever information is gathered from all those investigation, science, persons, everything, ultimately it is to be submitted to the doctor for giving the cause of death, right? Time since death or the post-mortem interval. So if it is not a hospitalized body we know the person has died on this particular date and time. But if there is no history and the body is found where, so then we have to give the time since death, right? We have to opine upon the time since death. That's the domain. How we will give? I'll just touch upon few slides later. Mode, manner, mechanism of death, again in few slides, and to various samples, body fluids. Whatever sample will be sent to the forensic scientist, only that will be analyzed, right? And who will collect the sample? It is the doctor or the forensic medicine expert, right? So you, as a forensic scientist, depend upon whatever fluid, whatever material, biological material is provided by the doctor at the time of autopsy. We have got a different scenario where we can directly go to the scene, and then the scene of crime officers and other persons also collect the exhibits. That's secondary, but then in context of case, everything becomes important. And then sometimes the photograph, the videograph, the CD, that is mandatory requirement under National Human Rights Commission. Well, mode, manner and mechanism and cause of death. I think this is the very basic knowledge which every police person, even you are all forensic scientists and above, even the police person needs to understand this, because many of the time this is confused. So mode, we can say the abnormal physiological state at the time of death, and only 3 modes are there, right? Asphyxia, syncope and coma. Again, you know there are 3 vital organs of the body: the lungs, the brain and the heart. So if the lungs fail, we call it as asphyxia. Suppose asphyxia due to hanging, like that. Asphyxia due to strangulation, whenever the primarily the function of the respiratory system fails. If the function of the circulatory system fails, that is shock and hemorrhage, the person has died due to excessive blood loss or fluid loss, it is called as shock and hemorrhage or syncope in a scientific term. Third one, when the person has suffered some head injury and the person has died due to coma. These are most of the times, if you see the post-mortem report, these are the terminologies which are used. And I'm sure all the forensic scientists, they must have this knowledge of basic ingredients of the post-mortem report and how to interpret, right? So manner, the 4th word is the manner. In fact, it is the manner of death which is most of the time confused with the cause of death, right? What is manner of death? It is the fashion or design in which cause of death has came into existence, right? So there can be only 2 possibilities. Either it is a natural manner, that means some disease process, the person has died due to some disease process, and that's what happened routinely. And sometimes even in the broad dead cases, as we saw during this COVID, so many cases were broad dead, so they have died due to disease process, natural death, but autopsy was conducted, right? If it is a broad dead case, as a rule in India, we have got, you can say, mandatory conduction of autopsy. Of course, now these guidelines are we revised due to COVID. Then other manner of death is unnatural, right? If it is unnatural, then there are 3 possibilities: accident, suicide and homicide. So these are manner of death, these are never cause of death. Invariably, people are confused that accident is the cause of death or suicide is the cause of death. Please make it a point, this is not the cause of death. Cause of death is what I told you, right? The manner, the design and all those, asphyxia, shock and hemorrhage, injuries, all those intricacies. When we are talking about the suicide, accident, homicide, it is the manner of death. So unnatural, three possibilities, and all three are open for police investigation further. Same scenario, same situation, the manner of death might be something else. Like I'm giving you a simple example of, say, cause of death is hanging. So as soon as the cause of death is hanging written as, the general impression is that the manner of death is, what will you say? If the cause of death is hanging, the manner of death is, normally what comes into your mind? Suicide, right? And as soon as we say the cause of death is strangulation, the manner of death which comes into our mind instantly is homicide, right? But there are situations when, although the cause of death is strangulation, but the manner of death could be accidental also, could be suicidal also. And here comes the role of further investigation. If something is dicey, something is not clear, then the investigation further conducts, further continues till the time we achieve the manner of death. Because ultimately the court is concerned with that only. What is the manner of death? Accordingly, further proceedings start, right? And that's why it is determined by honorable courts in India. We never determine, we never say that the manner of death is this. We present everything before the court of law, and court, after scrutiny of all those documents, then passes on the verdict, whether it accepts or orders for the reinvestigation. There all these intricacies start. If the court doesn't feel that it is not fitting into that manner, he can order for the reinvestigation or further clarification, right? So that's how our system works in India, right? Other countries, it's a little bit different scenario in other. Now, the mechanism when we talk about it is basically you can say the underlying mechanism. So cause of death is dependent upon again two words I will just quote, disease or injury, which is responsible for starting the chain of events. The starting word is important. Starting the chain of events, it could be brief or prolonged, which has led to that. Brief, the person has died immediately, some homicide case, some stab wound on the heart, person dies immediately. It could be brief. It could be prolonged, roadside accident, एक दिन सर्वाइव किया, हॉस्पिटल में एडमिट रहा, बहुत सारे ट्रीटमेंट चल रहे हैं, 2 दिन सर्वाइव किया, 10 दिन सर्वाइव किया, 2 years के बाद में भी डेथ हो जाती है. So it could be anything. Then we have to correlate whether it is exactly correlating with that or not. Strangulation, immediate comes to our mind that person has died immediately, but we have seen